The moment the scream echoed through the crowded supermarket, everything changed for Marissa Hale. Sunlight streamed through the wide front windows, illuminating aisles of fresh produce and polished tile, but the bright morning suddenly felt sharp and tense as customers froze mid-step. A frail elderly man had collapsed near the entrance, grocery bags spilling across the floor, apples rolling under carts, while his trembling hands failed to catch the edge of a display shelf. Employees hesitated, unsure whether to intervene or wait for management approval, and people nearby backed away, afraid or unwilling to get involved. Marissa, rushing between shelves with a box of restocked items in her arms, didn't hesitate. The single mother dropped everything and sprinted toward him, sliding on her knees to keep his head from hitting the floor. She could hear his weak breathing, see the fear in his eyes, and feel the weight of responsibility settle onto her shoulders. As she shouted for help and began first aid steps she remembered from a community class years ago, her supervisor stormed out of the back office, eyes burning with anger rather than concern. That single choice, to help a stranger instead of following strict company policy, would destroy her life within hours. Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of helping others even when it costs you something, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Good Deed Stories. Your support helps spread more inspiring stories that touch the heart and encourage compassion. What no one knew at that moment was that the elderly man she helped wasn't just any customer. Beneath the worn coat and unsteady steps was the chairman and billionaire owner of the entire supermarket chain, Vincent Rowan, secretly visiting stores across the city in disguise to observe how employees and customers were treated. Years of wealth had turned him wary of the polished performances people put on around him, so he chose anonymity whenever he wanted to see the truth. That morning, his health condition flared, causing dizziness and weakness, leaving him vulnerable and frightened. When Marissa knelt beside him, holding his hand and reassuring him, he felt an unfamiliar emotion. Gratitude mixed with shock that someone so clearly overworked and exhausted still had kindness to give. Yet he said nothing, unable to reveal his identity without compromising his purpose. As paramedics arrived, applauding her quick response and assuring the man's safety, her supervisor, Clarice Morton, didn't praise her. Instead, Clarice pulled Marissa into the manager's office, slammed the door, and accused her of abandoning her shift, violating protocol, and creating a liability risk. Marissa tried to explain, her voice shaking, but Clarice refused to listen. She printed termination papers, shoved them across the desk, and told her to clear out her locker. The harshness felt like a punch to the chest. For years, Marissa had worked double shifts, skipped breaks, and put up with difficult customers just to keep her job. She needed the income desperately. At home, her 8-year-old son Jonah waited anxiously every afternoon, needing asthma medication that stretched their already thin budget. Her mother, once her emotional anchor, was now bedridden, requiring care Marissa could barely afford. Losing this job wasn't an inconvenience. It was a disaster. Tears blurred her vision as she packed her apron and walked out into the unforgiving daylight. The same sun that brightened the store that morning now felt scorching and cruel. Customers glanced at her, unaware that the woman quietly leaving the building had just lost everything for choosing compassion. Vincent watched from the paramedic's vehicle window as she walked away with slumped shoulders and trembling hands. He recognized the look of someone carrying more than one burden, someone whose spirit was bending under pressure. He demanded the ambulance stop and insisted on getting out, despite protests. Once steady on his feet, he instructed his assistant to gather every detail about the incident. The truth hit him harder than the fall he suffered. An employee had been fired for saving his life. And worse, it wasn't an isolated decision. Reports showed Clarice frequently punished employees for small infractions, creating a hostile environment that contradicted the values Vincent believed his company represented. Rage and disappointment fueled his steps as he returned to corporate headquarters, determined to confront the injustice. Meanwhile, Marissa returned to her tiny apartment, where sunlight filtered through thin curtains onto secondhand furniture and piles of medical bills. Jonah greeted her with a hopeful smile, holding up a crayon drawing of her wearing a superhero cape. The contrast shattered her composure. She collapsed onto the couch, clutching her son, sobbing silently into his hair. She didn't want him to know the truth, to feel the weight of responsibility a child shouldn't bear. She promised him dinner and homework help, pretending everything was normal. But after he fell asleep, she sat alone at the kitchen table staring at termination papers. The apartment seemed painfully quiet, the ticking clock emphasizing every second. She didn't have a plan. She searched job listings online, sent applications, and prayed something would come through quickly, but exhaustion eventually overcame her. She dozed off, head resting on the cold surface of the table. The next morning, sunlight streamed through her window again, almost mocking her sleepless night. She prepared Jonah for school, passed it on a reassuring smile, and walked him to the bus stop. On the way back home, doubt gnawed at her. Had she made a mistake helping the stranger? Should she have prioritized her job over a human life? Deep down, she knew she wouldn't change her decision, but fear made her question everything. She was sorting through overdue notices when there was a knock at the door. She opened it cautiously, finding a sharply dressed man holding a briefcase. He introduced himself as Adrian Cole, representing Rowan Enterprises, and asked to speak with her. Panic surged through her. She feared legal consequences or accusations she couldn't fight. Instead, Adrian calmly explained that the company was reviewing the incident and requested her presence at the headquarters that afternoon. Curiosity and dread intertwined as she traveled across the city. The corporate tower loomed above her, sunlight glinting off glass panels, reflecting a world she felt she didn't belong to. When she stepped inside, employees in tailored suits glanced at her modest clothing and tired expression. Unaware she had more courage than most, she was escorted to a spacious boardroom where Vincent, no longer disguised, waited. His posture was strong, his expression thoughtful, and the shock on her face was undeniable when she recognized him as the man she helped. He apologized sincerely, expressing not only gratitude for saving him, but anger at how she had been treated. He revealed his true identity and explained that her compassion exposed deeper issues within the company. He informed her that Clarice had been terminated for misconduct and harmful management practices. Marissa sat speechless, tears welling as relief washed over her. But Vincent wasn't finished. He offered her a full reinstatement with a significant promotion into a customer care coordination role, believing her empathy and dedication made her uniquely qualified. The position included better pay, flexible hours, medical benefits, and opportunities for growth. He also presented a check to help cover her mother's medical expenses, insisting it was the least he could do for someone who saved his life. Marissa trembled, overwhelmed by the sudden reversal of fortune. Her instinct was to refuse charity, but Vincent assured her this wasn't charity. It was justice and appreciation. If this story has touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps bring more uplifting stories to those who need inspiration and hope. Just before we end, please take a moment to comment what part of the story inspired you the most. It truly helps our community grow. As weeks passed, Marissa flourished in her new role. She walked through the brightly lit corporate office with renewed confidence, sunlight reflecting off polished floors as coworkers greeted her warmly. She enhanced customer support systems, advocated for employees, and helped create policies that prioritize compassion over rigid control. Vincent often consulted her perspective, valuing her understanding of both frontline struggles and human connection. The company culture transformed, becoming more supportive, leading to increased customer loyalty and employee satisfaction. Marissa became a symbol of resilience, showing that kindness could not only change lives, but reshape an entire corporation. Jonah's health improved with consistent medication, and their home felt warmer, filled with laughter rather than worry. Marissa visited her mother regularly, sharing stories of progress and hope. Her mother's eyes sparkled with pride, knowing her daughter's heart had always been her greatest strength. Vincent continued to check in, grateful for the reminder that wealth and power meant nothing without compassion. He often reflected on how fate had revealed the truth about his company through the simple act of a single mother choosing humanity over fear. One sunny afternoon, as Marissa stood near a large window overlooking the city skyline, She felt the weight of past struggles lift. The sunlight warmed her face, symbolizing a new beginning. She realized that everything she endured, the late nights, financial stress, and heartbreak, had prepared her for this moment. Helping a stranger had cost her everything, but it also opened doors she never imagined. Her story became a testament to courage, empathy, and integrity.